And welcome to the Technology Geek podcast. I am your host, Brandon Lapani, the Technology Geek. And we're here as we are every week to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, answer your questions, all that jazz. And as always, I want to thank our wonderful sponsors for sponsoring our podcast. This is the 23rd podcast, and again, as always, you can see all of our podcasts at thetechnologygeek.org, as well as on our Twitter at LapaniTech, and Facebook, Google+, all that. So we're very grateful to have sponsors and listeners and all that good stuff. As always, we'll get the sponsors out of the way first. ProXPN.com. They're a wonderful VPN service, and they're a new sponsor. They've been with us for a couple of podcasts now, and they are a wonderful sponsor, and that's ProXPN. They're a cloud-based VPN solution, and hey, if you're going to be, in a place like a coffee shop or any place where you have public Wi-Fi and you're going to do any of your banking or any of your personal information, I very, very strongly recommend you using a VPN solution. And ProXPN has a great offer for you. Use our promo code TechGeek, TECGEK, and you get a nice trial offer from them. And as well, we get the credit for it. So we really appreciate that. And also, let's not forget about our other wonderful sponsor who's been with us since day one, Audible. Get a free 30-day trial of audiobooks from audibletrial.com/techgeek, and that's TECGEEK. And they really are a wonderful sponsor. We're very lucky to have them. And I personally use them myself. I have an Audible trial. And they're really just a wonderful service. You listen to audiobooks on the go when you're at home or cleaning, or if you're at the gym or driving, if you're on a long car ride, anything like that. It really is wonderful. I remember when you used to have to get books on tape at Cracker Barrel, and you could buy them used at half price, and you put them in the cassette player and listen to them while you were driving. So Audible, definitely a lot better way to go. A wonderful service, and we're very grateful to have them. And like I said, it's better than any cassette you could buy at any store nowadays. So it's really, really grateful to have them. And again, you get a 30-day free trial with our offer code, and that's, again, audibletrial.com/techgeek. And also, too, I want to point out another sponsor, Dollar Shave Club. Wonderful service, let me tell you as well. I use them myself. You get 4 blades a month, and you change the blade once a week, and you shave with it. And for $6 a month, it really is a wonderful service. You can go to our website, thetechnologygeek.org, and go ahead and click on our Join Dollar Shave Club link and join, and we'll get the credit for it. And as well as you'll get a free offer code on the first time. And again, those are our wonderful sponsors. I'm very grateful to have them as part of the Technology Geek. Some other things about the Technology Geek, some other stuff going on the website. As you can see, we've added a show on Wednesday now called Political Dirt. We just did our first podcast the other day with it. It's a little bit different of a show, talking about a lot of people like my survival and my ham radio posts that I do, my outdoorsman information I give out. So it talks a lot about surviving. Talks about finance, business, law, some politics, things like that. So it really is a wonderful podcast we're doing. And it's fairly new. It just debuted this past Wednesday. We did a pilot run with it. We got pretty good ratings on it, so we're going to keep doing it on Wednesdays. It's only a half-hour show. It's a little bit different. Like I said, it talks about politics, survival, all that type of stuff, and it really is a wonderful show. And like I said, right now we're calling it Political Dirt. The name possibly could change, but right now we're sticking with that name for right now. We talk about a lot of stuff, and it's only a half-hour show, but it actually is really good, and that's on Wednesdays now. Like I said, just debuted this past Wednesday, and another one will be going up this Wednesday. Like I said, it really is a wonderful show. We're really proud of it, and it's a show that a lot of people have been asking us for, because I'm always talking about business and how it's affecting and how the economy is, and I'm always talking about surviving when the government collapses and all that type of stuff. I mean, not that I'm a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but it's good to be prepared for any type of disaster, whether it be, anything related to the government, or whether it be related to anything to just, natural disasters or anything like that. So we talk about all that on that podcast. And again, you can go to our website and check it out. It's Political Dirt. And it actually is a pretty decent half-hour show, and I'm actually pretty proud of it. So that's another show we have up there for you if you want to listen to that. Some other things going on in the world of tech. We'll get into the news shortly and the questions. But I always like to talk about some things, big headlines this week. Jeff Benzo of Amazon buying a news newspaper company, which is kind of a neat thing that Jeff Benzo, obviously owning Amazon, the Kindle, the books, all that stuff. Amazon, by the way, didn't buy them. Jeff Benzo himself personally out of his own personal money purchased them, and I think. And I mean, obviously, obviously you can get, that particular newspaper, you can get it obviously, on the Kindle, but Benzo, I think he I'm not sure exactly why he bought this company, but I think he's trying to change the way the news industry is and go for more of a targeted niche. I know a lot of people like Google and I know even like companies like places like Leo Laporte and all that type of stuff from Twit. They've talked about how target advertising content and target advertising, ads and all that are becoming more and more popular nowadays. So I'm curious to see what Benzo's plans are with the company, if he's going to keep them as a targeted market. Obviously, the Washington Post, obviously, very, very popular newspaper in the Washington area. I'd be very interested to see what he does with it. He may, Washington Post is something that has seriously struggled, tremendously with, tremendously with, stuff like that. So, I'd be curious to see what he actually does, if he's going to. They really struggled hard with getting their print and all that online, so it'd be neat to see. Amazon obviously has that market down with digital books and digital magazines and all that, so it'd be neat to see if Benzo can take them to the next level. Some other things as far as targeting. Since we were talking about targeting ads, there was an article the other day about there's actually what they have now is actually recycling bins in parts of Europe now that actually hook to your smartphone and actually can read the cache on your phone and actually give you targeted ads on the actual recycling bin. So I think this is definitely going to be the future of advertising. No more billboards, just random billboards on the sides of buses anymore. I think you're going to see everything's going to go to more of a targeted market kind of niche when it comes to advertising, and I think that's the way to go too. Getting more money getting more targeted audience for your money. I think that's definitely the way to go. I mean, they've been doing this for years with television, and I think it's about time they pick it up with the internet. Television's been doing this for years. With the ratings and knowing what age group watches what. WWE companies like that heavily watch those ratings and know what's. What their market is and who's the ages of who's watching and stuff. So the internet's getting much more into that. And with technology and the mobile phone market being what it is, it'd be great if you could target a billboard ad, as somebody, as a bus drives by somebody, the billboard ad changes something that they might be interested in. So it's definitely the way that technology is going today. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see more and more of that as the years go on. Right now, it's only in Europe and only works on the iPhones. And I'd be very interested to see where they're going to take this in America with the Android market and billboards. And I mean, these recyclables are just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's a lot they can do on the sides of buses, on billboards on the highway. There's just so much. This has such potential. So I'd be very interested to see where they go with all this over the next a couple of years. But I think it's definitely the targeting your content and targeting your advertising is something that I think is going to get bigger and bigger, especially in the newspaper industry and in the video industry and things that are over the years have been very lax as far as that goes. Like I said, Leo Laporte's talked about it heavily about his Twit network, and as well as Google's talked about it heavily too. So, we're in the instant gratification era. So, I think it's people definitely want to. Want the information that they want and that they're looking for. So we're seeing that a lot even in the service business now. People don't want to have to unplug their computer and bring it to a place to get it repaired. They'd rather somebody come right to the house and get it repaired, or somebody, they'd rather call up a company. The company, remotes in via, via GoToMeeting or something like that. The people they fix the computer, and then the people get off. People don't have to leave their house. I think that's the future of the way the industry is going with this whole instant gratification thing. So, obviously, with wireless networking and all that type of stuff, people are becoming. Everything's wireless nowadays. Everybody wants to get connected instantly. Everybody always, do you have Wi-Fi? Do you have this? Years ago when you stayed at a motel, you made sure that they had dial-up. Now it's almost expected that hotels have internet, and if they don't, they're just not going to survive. So, it's just the way the industry is going. and even talking about news and all that, and in the instant gratification era and the way things are going with the newspaper industry and all that. Social networking has definitely changed the way we even look at the news. I'll just give an example. That whole Kevin Rose situation on YouTube. I'm sure you saw it went viral. Kevin Rose going ahead with the with that raccoon video. The news. Nowadays when you watch the local news, they'll say big story today on the news, and they'll roll the video right from YouTube. It says YouTube in the little right hand corner. So it's showing that the news industry, the way that we look at how we present news, the way we look at what people do. Years ago, if you wanted to talk to somebody, you had to fly them in, and call them, offer to pay them, pay their expenses. They fly in, the news would do an interview with them, and only the big news conglomerates could go ahead and get those type of videos. Now, with the way the industry is nowadays, you don't have to. We create our own media. It's cheaper just for the news to run a YouTube video. It's under a public license, so they run a YouTube video right on television. This way they don't have to spend the money to fly somebody in or, buy the rights to talk to them or anything like that. It's just the way the industry is going. And even with podcasting and all that, years ago people said, podcasts are going to be dead because, you create a podcast, and then somebody has to get it on the mobile device. Well, now with, everybody's like, well, now you need a radio show to really get popular. Not really anymore because, with everybody having, connection to the internet all the time with AT&T or Verizon or any of the mobile carriers, you create a podcast and somebody just, goes up to iTunes or goes up to, PodPress and boom, they can stream whatever they want. Why should they listen to the radio anymore? That's really what's coming down to. Sirius will survive, I think, because they have a lot more. The way Sirius designs is they come up with channels that targeted markets, so they've got the right idea. But regular general FM radio, people don't want to listen to what they don't. People don't want to listen to something unless it's instant gratification. People want to go on their phones and get the podcast listened to, or go on the phones and pick the music they want. Or people even people that have Sirius, they turn it on, they turn it to Howard Stern or Opie and Anthony or Hard Rock. They have channels aimed towards certain genres, which the FM radio just doesn't get onto this anymore, and it's a real an issue, and it's one of the reasons why FM radio has slowly been dying, and satellite's been taken over, and podcasting and all that stuff is becoming bigger and bigger. Look at all your major radio shows. Look at the Alex Jones show. That's a very popular radio station, and his podcast is one of the most downloaded podcasts on the internet, even though he's got a radio show, because people want to listen to it when they want to listen to it, not when it's being aired. Look at what happens. Look at what's going on with the pay-per-view era now. Pay-per-view is becoming less and less popular because people don't want to be restricted to a certain time when they want to listen to it. They'd rather watch it when they want to watch it. And as the piracy industry gets bigger and bigger with this, more and more people are going to get, going to start downloading illegally downloading the pay-per-views and watching them on their own time. That's just the way the industry's going. Especially with the news showing all these YouTube videos and stuff. It's cheaper than them, having people come in. It's just the way the industry is going. During the hurricane especially, we saw all that. With the hurricane going on, they had spotters out there with Twitter feeds, updating the Twitter feed, and then the newscaster was there was there reading the Twitter feeds off, saying, and showing pictures, this photo was just tweeted from one of our spotters. That's the way the industry is going. I think it's really interesting. Like I said, watching CNN saying, okay, we have a report in from one of our spotters now. This picture was just tweeted, and then all of a sudden, you can follow this spotter at this Twitter account. It's just the way the industry's going. So they send people out there with cell phones to get the news. Here's another thing too. Talking about the way industry is changing. Almost everything nowadays is videotaped. Or taking a picture of or anything. I've said this a couple times. Politicians years from now, it's going to be hard for them to keep anything private because they're all going to have, it's going to be, they're going to, in political campaigns, 20 years from now, they're going to put up, here's what you posted on Facebook, 20 years ago when you were, 16 or whatever. That's definitely something that is coming as as technology progresses more and more. And I'd be very curious to see how they're going to keep anything private with politicians in years to come, especially with social media and all that being what it is. Some kid, makes a crazy video in college, and posts it up on YouTube. I would not be surprised if, politicians didn't dig that up 20 years from now and smear the president, about a video he made, in college or something. I mean, that's just, that's just the 20, 30, 40 years from now, politicians are all going to be, have their dirt per se, on Facebook or Twitter, that they're going to be able to use them, use for smear campaigns and all that. Talking about how everything's on video and how, news companies are, using that to their advantage. If you look at that story the other day, a woman that had a baby in a hospital on the floor, somehow the news got a hold of the video footage from the security camera, and they showed the woman, the whole situation right there. I mean, years ago, they would have to, get the person, tell the person has to tell them the story right on the air. A broadcaster would interview them and all. Now, since everything's videotaped or everything's around, they just take the video and throw it up on the news, and it shows the whole thing what happened. They comment over it, and then it's over. That's just the way it is, especially with the way social media is nowadays. I think in the term yesterday's news, I don't think it's going to be that way anymore. I think it's going to be it was earlier today's news or something, or it was an hour ago's news. It wasn't with the way social media is. I mean, look at that whole flight that luckily everybody, I don't believe there's anybody killed. I don't want to follow the story too much, but look at that one news story that transpired not too long ago with the airplane. I think it was a couple weeks ago. But by the time the news broke about it, it was almost old news because Twitter had such great coverage of it. So it just shows you how things are, the news industry and the whole industry, the way media is delivered is all changing. So it's definitely something to watch, definitely something to keep an eye on as things progress. It's definitely going to only get bigger as things go on. Years ago you almost had to have a news company to, and a media company to, do news 20, 30 years ago. Not anymore. I remember years ago, my grandfather, before the internet was really popular, he would make sure you watched the 11 o'clock news so you knew what was going on for the next day. Or you'd have to grab a paper in the morning. Not anymore. People get up, fire up the computer, they got all the news they need, and then they go on their way to work. It's just the way the industry is nowadays. And that's one of the reasons why these newspapers and all that are struggling, because a lot of people that are running the papers aren't technology savvy, don't realize the industry's changing, and it's really, unfortunate. One of the people I really admire is, Leo Laporte. I mean, look what he did with the Twit network, 20 years ago. He said this, by the way, this is nothing new. He said this, 20 years ago, you'd need, a television network, you'd need, producers, cameraman, all that. It would cost $50, $60 million to start a tech channel. Now, just using his website, a couple of video cameras and some podcast equipment, he's created a whole network, a whole tech network, and he manages to keep the funding low, the overhead low. And, he's able to make money because of it. And, years ago that would have, 20, even 10 years ago that would have, I don't even think, even 10 years ago that would have been unheard of. So, definitely the way news and things are changing is definitely part of our society. And, companies are either going to adapt or die. And I hate to say that, but it's really the truth. Especially these companies that are still relying so heavily on print papers. And, I mean, I'm not saying that every paper needs to go digital. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying the bigger news industries still have to. Smaller local mom-and-pop papers, I think, will still do okay. Delivering local news, local ads, I think that'll still survive, especially in the smaller areas. But the bigger news conglomerates, stuff like the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, stuff, they don't adapt. They'll unfortunately dry up. That's just the way the industry is. But moving on to our next segment, talking about technology news of the week, something that we do talk about every week. And by the way, folks, if you ever want to send me a news article, it's at Lapani Tech on Twitter. Go ahead and just send it to me on Twitter, or send it to me via email at the website, and we'll get it up there for you. Some people do send me some news articles, and a lot of them are actually very, very good. We do have a very well-educated audience, which is great. Some other things going on in the worlds of tech news. Obviously, HTC featuring Robert Downey Jr. in a new ad campaign. From what I've been reading all week, that was actually news a little bit earlier in the week, but now reading later on today, almost a week later, they're saying he's actually breathing a lot of new life into HTC. So good, HTC definitely needed a good spokesperson, and I don't think you're going to get any better than Mr. Iron Man himself. So definitely HTC. The Droids are definitely one of the more popular phones on the market, along with Motorola. So they definitely need somebody to help and give them some publicity. So it's really, really wonderful for them. So I'm kind of glad HTC decided. Robert Downey Jr. right now, he's probably one of the hotter stars right now in Hollywood right now. So some other things going on as well. Pirate Bay launches its first pirate browser, celebrating obviously their 10-year anniversary. So they released a pirate browser. It's kind of a browser that allows you to go ahead and actually browse the internet anonymously, which there are other ways to do it besides their browser. There's obviously a safe browser, a Firefox plugin and stuff like that, but they actually released their own browser in celebration of their 10th year. So like I said, it allows you to it basically leverages the Tor architecture, which allows you to anonymously web browse. The aim there was to enable users to circumvent any barriers that are put in place by ISPs or government entities to try to stop them from using torrent-based sites, and it basically forces the ISP to, because the ISPs were banning people that were using Pirate Bay, so it basically allows you to get around that ban and use major BitTorrent sites such as Kick-Ass Torrents and stuff like that. So it's a Windows-based browser, so that's actually pretty cool. So other things going on as well. Talking about Pirate Bay. I'm sorry. Let me. Had a hard time following my own news story. Some of the other things too. There was an article that came out the other day. A third of Pirate Bay traffic comes from the United States. Not surprising actually. I think as piracy is getting more and more kind of pushed against from the government and from a lot of other agencies trying to prevent privacy. I think it's like when you were a kid. The more your mother told you not to do it, the more you did it, type of thing. So that actually doesn't really surprise me. That a third of the piracy is coming from the United States. Actually, some other stuff as well. Part of that article, I'm going to pull that up here while I'm talking to you to see if what other countries were some of the higher usage type of companies. Some other things as well. The next iPhone, the rumors have it that it's going to be unveiled September 10th. Rumors, it's one of those things. Rumors are like anything else, but it's safe to say that that's probably what Apple's going to do. They've done it every year now. Come out with a new iPhone. In September. So, I think it's pretty safe to say that that's what they're going to do. There are some speculation saying it's going to be one of the iPhones, the cheaper iPhone with the plastic back for more distribution, across the globe. There are also some other things they're saying as well. Possibly a new iTunes. I don't. It's safe to say you're definitely going to get an iPhone, and it's safe to say you're definitely going to get, something new from Apple, whether it be, you're definitely going to get it's almost safe to say you're going to get an iPhone. It's almost safe to say you're probably going to get maybe another iPad. But as far as anything else goes, I don't know, there's not a lot of, we don't exactly know yet what it's going to be. I just pulled up that article, by the way, that I was talking about. America is number one with the most Pirate Bay traffic at 35%. Surprisingly enough, Australia is way behind us at 8.4%. Canada, 6.8%. Sweden, 6.5%. Brazil, 4.8%. India, 3.6%. And after that, you have France pulling in at 2.3%. United Kingdom at 2.1%, Japan 1.9%, and Spain at 1.8%, and that was the only countries they have up there. So, we're definitely the highest. We're also the biggest country too, but we're also we're the highest hit using Pirate Bay. But the only one that comes close to us is 8.4. So there's a big gap there. So, but yeah, that's that was in the news the other day. Some other things as well. AOL obviously having the big public firing, laying off hundreds of patch employees next week. AOL, just like anything else, trying to buy up. They remember a couple of years ago they brought up TechCrunch. They've been buying up a lot of media sites, blogs, stuff like that, and trying to go ahead and really trying to make themselves into this internet conglomerate, and it's just I just think they keep buying and buying and buying, and they're not spending the time to restructure. It's like let's buy it and just hang on to it, and I just don't think they don't know. I think they were just kind of buying them up to have them, and they weren't actually thinking about structuring and keeping things. How are they going to better utilize their resources? I mean, it's typical AOL. Typical the way AOL runs their business. So, I mean, this isn't actually a shock to me. As soon as AOL started buying up those companies a couple of years ago, I said they're definitely they're gonna become like a balloon. They're gonna have to do some major layoffs and reorganize and restructure, and that's exactly what they're doing. So, I was saying this a while back, but AOL, like I said, publicly doing it. After he announced this a few days later, they went ahead and apologized for the way they did it and all that stuff, and they're very upset that they're laying off, and a lot of other companies like Apple are hiring. So, but definitely AOL, a company that still manages to hang around even though their business model has greatly changed. I know they still have 3 million dial-up users. They still have. I forget how. I think they have like 7 or 8 million people that still have paid subscriptions to AOL. So, I mean, they're still in and kicking, but definitely not the conglomerate they were in the mid to late 90s. But still hanging around and still doing fairly strong. Trying to change their business direction to bring them into the next the next century. I say that joking around, but. Because that was their big thing too. They're like, AOL's doing this to bring us into the new millennium in technology. Now they're, it's 2013, and they're still trying to find a way to bring themselves, so that they survive and last. And buying up TechCrunch and buying up a lot of those other big news sites was their answer. And it just doesn't seem to be. It seems like it's paying off for them, but it just seems like they don't. It's not structured properly, and I'm sure we'll see more layoffs as time progresses. Some other things talking about Yahoo pays Tumblr's David Karp $81 million to stay for 4 years. Now, see, this is when Yahoo and AOL. I mean, you're talking about when you compare AOL and Yahoo to companies like Google. I mean, you're talking about two of the worst run companies in tech compared to one of the best run companies in tech, and. Yahoo made this acquisition with Tumblr, and now they're paying David Karp to stay for 4 years. I would imagine that was probably built into their deal when they bought the company, that he had to stay around for a couple of years. Most companies, when they buy out smaller companies, usually do go ahead and definitely go ahead and they work into the contract that the owner, the founder, or some of the have to stay for X amount of years to actually make sign a contract. So definitely something that Yahoo, their new CEO, definitely doing a better job than the old one did. But there definitely is definitely remains to see what they're going to do with Tumblr. To me, Yahoo actually I think is a pretty cool company because they own a lot of different stuff. They're very diversified. But again, when you actually look at over the years, they're very much very unorganized. I think that's what with the new CEO. She's definitely working on trying to structure them and trying to make sure that they survive. I mean, Flickr was a good purchase for them. I think Tumblr would definitely be a good purchase for them, but there were some other things they did that just weren't good. But again, I think their new CEO, I think she definitely knows what she's doing, and I'm very confident in her skills. And I think Yahoo is going to do much better than AOL. I mean, Yahoo, one of the first things now, they're teaming up with WWE. Very good decision on their part. WWE definitely brings a lot of media attention, and that's something that Yahoo needs. Yahoo News, obviously very, very strong right now. So I think Yahoo is a company that definitely has done better over the last year or two. And they're doing okay. But the Tumblr was a very big purchase for them. I think it was a good purchase, a good decision, and definitely you want to keep the Tumblr guy around because they need They need people that know what they're doing with the product until, they have a chance to really go ahead and structure it the way they want it. So, some other things going on as well. Google Play Books for the iOS now rents textbooks. I think this is something that's going to get more and more popular, especially with the price of text. I know when I went to college myself, I went to college for technology. I remember textbooks that was like an investment almost at that time. And even if you and so many, and I think, and I'm not hiding anything here. I think a lot of your college instructors and stuff definitely write their own textbooks so that they can make money, and so you can't get them off Amazon or places like that. So I think the fact that Google, the recent updates to the Google Play Books app for the iOS brings, a handful of improvements. One being the fact that you can now rent textbooks and stuff like that. I think that's going to be really something that needs to be done to save college kids some money. Google has, when it updated its iOS app for Google Play Books to include the support for the rental textbooks, that directly challenged the iBooks tech book offerings. So that's kind of something different that Google's doing to go ahead and compete with iBooks. But Google has really. I'm actually surprised in doing this. Google Books has been struggling over the last couple of years. Not so much struggling in the fact that they're not making money, as struggling as they've had lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit with authors and publishers and stuff. So I think it's definitely a cool feature. Definitely need to save kids some money. Apple does it as well. And I think it just really is something that needs to be done because I remember, like I said, textbooks were like borderline investment when I was going to college. So. Some other things as well. BlackBerry still struggling. Reported the company may go private. The company is up for sale. They've been trying to get buyers since 2012. They don't know what they're doing. Are they going private? Are we not going private? Are we up for sale? Are we not up for sale? We're going to look for buyers. We're not going to look for buyers. I don't think they really know exactly what they're doing yet, and it really is a shame. But they're just a company that really needs some leadership. We were talking to a friend of mine. We were Skyping earlier today, talking about stuff I was going to talk about on the podcast. And one of the things he said was AOL should buy them. And I said, yeah, sure, like the blind leading the blind. We'll see what happens with them. I mean, they're a company that was at the top for a while, and now they're, they've openly said they're completely abandoning touchscreen. There's so many things. They don't know really what they're doing, I don't think. And like I said, they completely abandoned touchscreen now. They have a smaller screen probably on the market. I mean, I think it's safe to say probably the Windows Phone is actually doing better than them, which isn't saying much. So, some other things too. RDO introduces personalized stations. This is something that iHeartRadio did. Pandora has been doing this. Spotify did it. I think they're, it's way overdue. But again, if they want to keep competitive, they have to offer things that other companies offer. So that's what they're doing. Some other news as well, kind of some sad news. Former Microsoft executive dies in that Connecticut plane crash. Really is a shame that happened. But one of the Microsoft execs unfortunately passed away. I have more on that story here. I'm pulling it up right now, but it really is a shame. Microsoft losing one of their executives in a plane crash. It really is sad, and I feel bad for all of his coworkers and and things like that worked with him. I know it's really, really tough. Former Microsoft executive and his son died in a small plane crash on Friday, 11/25. It was really, really sad. Like I said, he not too much said about what he did. But apparently he had worked closely with Bill Gates as an SVP of the Microsoft organization. So he was a social venture partner. So it was he worked in the social ventures partners. So interesting story, and really, really sad to see somebody die at such a young age. But he was a former Microsoft. It's like a lot of people have Bill Gates stories, but he knew him very well. So. Some other news as far as politics go. I know it's not our Political Dirt podcast yet, but Mark Zuckerberg, along with some others, donating to Booker's campaign this year. So definitely a lot of .coms definitely really backing this guy, Mark Zuckerberg, one of them. LinkedIn, obviously. Home Depot, who has really tried to become much more digital over the years, they're backing him. Some other companies as well, really contributing to him. They've contributed to the campaigns. By the way, to both the Democratic and the Republican side. By the way, Booker's obviously he's a Senate candidate for the Democratic side, and of course Governor Chris Christie is another one that they actually donated to as well. But like I said, Mark Zuckerberg joined Christie and Booker on a television show in 2010 and announced he would donate $100 million to Newark's school system. And he's done some other fundraisers as well, but now he's donating some money to him for his campaign. So, a lot of IT guys back. It's no secret. Bill Gates has been was a huge backer of a lot of people. In the '90s and stuff like that. So they all do it. Some other things as well. Microsoft is working on a cloud-based operating system for the U.S. government. No real secret there. As far as news goes, we blogged about it on the site. I'm interested to see. We know that Google has apps for government and things of that nature. Now Microsoft's trying to come up with a cloud-based OS for government that's going to work like a terminal system. So a cloud-based terminal system. So it's actually kind of neat seeing how things are going. This is something that they've talked about for years, doing a cloud-based operating system. Nothing new there. We should see what Microsoft does for it. Right now, it's just we know they're working on it, but right now it's very kind of secretive. So, but I'd be interested to see what they do. Cloud-based operating system, obviously, it's not really revolutionary. Terminal services has been something that's been around since the old IBM mainframe days. So it's nothing really new there, but definitely something different that Microsoft's trying to work on, and this could definitely. Microsoft, obviously, one of their biggest sellers is the government buying copies of Office and stuff like that. So it'd be neat for them to get an operating system in their hands and make it even more cloud-based and stuff. So pretty cool. SoundCloud for Google Plus Team, is updated for embedded posts. SoundCloud and Google Plus, obviously, very, very close. Obviously, Google has their own cloud-based music service, but they do work very heavily with SoundCloud. And, updating their OS. It's actually pretty cool. SoundCloud's actually a pretty cool service. Actually, a lot of apps tethered to it. There's a lot of dictation apps right now out there that you can actually dictate on the iPhone or the Droid. And once you're done, you hit send, and it sends it right up to the SoundCloud. And then you can have your secretary go ahead and transcribe it. And I believe SoundCloud has said they're working with Google. Because I don't know if anybody's worked with Google Voice, it transcribes your voicemails for it. I love it. If that's something go to the voicemail, I can just read it rather than having to listen to it. It saves money too saves your minutes and stuff. But long story short, the SoundCloud said they're working with them because they're trying to come out with a dictation piece where you can actually dictate and then it'll send it and then it'll actually transcribe it for you. So you don't even need the secretary. It cuts somebody right out of the loop. So it's kind of interesting. Some other things too as well, which is kind of neat, talking about SoundCloud. a lot of artists offer, SoundCloud to share, music and stuff like that. Politicians, I mean, even President Barack Obama and New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, they use the site to upload speeches and stuff that they do. So SoundCloud's getting bigger and bigger. It's actually a really cool service, and you should really check it out. SoundCloud integrated, with Google Plus. SoundCloud slowly but surely building up its customer base. I mean, nothing, it's not nearly as, close as it does compete with Facebook, but Facebook's got billions plus users. You can already embed SoundCloud files into Facebook. Google Plus has about 500 million total members, and now they are adding it. So they're a little behind the they're a little behind, but Google is, Google Plus is definitely cool and does have a lot of cool features, but they always are playing catch up with Facebook. It'd be neat to see if there'll be a time where Google Plus surpasses Facebook, but Google Plus has not really caught on as well as Facebook has, and I don't know if it's going to. But again, like I said, SoundCloud integration, it's another step in the right direction for Google Plus, which is slowly but surely building up its user base compared to Facebook, who has billions. Google Plus only has 500 million total users, as of December, and although the numbers, it's most likely higher. I don't think they have that many users. The site currently boasts about 190 million active users, in the stream, and about 390 million monthly active users across Google. So, I mean, that was of course according to Google's numbers that were released for this article. So, Monday, like I said, they announced, the first collaborative effort between SoundCloud and Google Plus, two companies. They teamed up for mutual interest, allowing SoundCloud users to access their profiles using through Google Plus accounts. So definitely something kind of cool that Google Plus is doing. Like I said, unfortunately, they're still playing catch up with Facebook. And there's these social networks, and I've said this many times. You can have the absolute coolest social network, okay? But if it doesn't have that it's cool factor, or it doesn't just jump out and get people, it just doesn't going to take off. That's just the way these social networks are. Either you can't force it. Either it is cool or it's not. You know what I mean? I personally think Google Plus has a lot of cool features. Google Hangouts. Google Sharing, where you can share your desktop with people. I personally think Google Video, Google's like Hangouts video, I think is much, much better than Skype. I've used both extensively, and I still find Google Plus video much, much better than Skype. But it's just one of those things. If it doesn't catch on, it doesn't catch on. It's just the way the industry is, unfortunately. Some other things as well. Talking about a friend of ours, Linus Torvalds, celebrates 20 years of Linux, 20 years of Windows 3.1.1 with Linux 3.11 RC5 launch. So Linus is celebrating all the years of Linux. So good for him. A guy that won something very, very similar to the Nobel Prize a few years ago for his creation. It really is very, very cool, and And like I said, it's right here in the thing. This is all Slashdot. It says Linus Torvalds releases Linux 3.11 RC5, wishing that it would be a lovely coincidence he were able to release the final Linux 3.11 as on the exact same day 20 years ago Microsoft released Windows 3.11. Sadly, the it didn't work out quite that way, but while releasing the final 3.11 today would be a lovely coincidence. Windows 3.11 was released 20 years ago, so it is kind of cool for him, and I do like Linus. He's a friend of ours, so congratulations to him. He created a wonderful product that I think it's going to be. It's here to stay. It definitely is here to stay 20 years later, and in my opinion, it's only gotten bigger. And it's only going to continue to get bigger as things, electronic devices like TiVos and any devices, Androids or anything, continues to grow. Even the Mac is Unix based and stuff, which Linus released Linux. But as all these things gain in popularity, his product just becomes that much more powerful and that much more notable. And Linux, obviously, something that's not going away, and is really something that, in my opinion, I am a huge Linux enthusiast, and I can't thank Linus enough for his creation. So. Something that I use and will continue to use, and something that if you don't know what it is, you should definitely jump on it, because every single electronic device out there runs a version of Linux. The companies do not use Windows because they don't want to pay licensing. They use Linux. Any of these devices you see, DVR, TiVos, Rokus, all run on a Linux backend. So very, very important. All these sites like Facebook, Google, they all run on Linux backends. Linux is definitely something that is not going away and is definitely becoming more powerful and much more adaptable, much more notable as the time progresses. So I myself am a big Linux enthusiast, and I strongly recommend you use it. And I actually even run a Linux website and a Linux web server, email server as well. So definitely something you should do. If you're not a big Linux fan, even Unix, FreeBSD, or any of those would be something you should pick up and learn. It's very important. Some other things as well. Bitcoin wallet has on Android vulnerable to theft. That was in the news this week. So I believe they're going to go ahead and patch that. I'm not exactly sure yet. But that was in the news as well. We blogged about it too the other day, but I'll go over it again. Senate trying to open up a Bitcoin investigation, saying that they need to regulate the currency. Of course, nothing can ever be on the internet without somebody trying to step in and regulate it, unfortunately. As far as the vulnerability goes, Bitcoin users have been warned to that storing their apps in the wallet app in the Android, which I do too as well, and I just changed it. There's a weakness in the Android random number generator. That means that it's a random number that may not be so random, giving the attacker the ability to steal your Bitcoin. That was on bitcoin.org the other day. Some other things as well in the news. Lenovo obviously announces the other day they are shipping now more mobile devices than PC devices for the first time in history. That's actually pretty neat. Facebook obviously coming out with a rival for PayPal, which is kind of neat, something new that's coming out now. We've all talked about the history of Google, about the future of Google search, and how they want you to, they want to know what you're searching for before you're searching for using the Google Wallet to pay for things before you need it and all that. So, but this thing definitely is going to be. Facebook is testing, they say, a competitor for PayPal. So we'll see what happens with that. Some other things as well going on in the news. Google Plus updating its Android app with a new location feature, and some updating as well with some photo features. That was in the news the other day. Some other things as well going on as far as Google goes. WWE unveiling a social hub that'll integrate with Google Glasses for SummerSlam. Something new they're trying as well. Google, definitely when it comes to WWE, they're trying to definitely get much more innovative with social media and really trying to bring fan interaction into it, which is part of the reason I think why they've exploded. I mean, when you watch Raw on Monday night, you definitely see how popular the show really is when you see the trends on Twitter. Some other stuff as well going on in the news. Google Plus obviously updating their Android app with new locations and features. We talked about that before, and they're adding some new photo features and stuff. Definitely something going on there. Yahoo debuts new Windows Phone app for Microsoft. Google obviously very slacking on that. They've been dragging their feet for a while on that, and that obviously got Microsoft very upset that they're dragging their feet on that app. Obviously, YouTube being one of the most popular streaming sites on the internet, Microsoft definitely wants their phone to have a YouTube app. So, some other news as well. New York Times website hacked. And New York Times down along with their iOS apps. They're up and operating now. Not a lot of information yet released on that story. We'll hopefully have some more info for you next week. But I was actually, believe it or not, I was actually on a chat room with somebody, and I said, "Do you notice the New York Times?" And he said, "Yeah." And we started checking, and literally we were on it. We knew about it before, probably even the news picked it up because I happened to be on the New York Times site when it went down. I'm sure a lot of people were too, but kind of interesting when you're there and kind of like, what's going on? I think it's your computer, and really it's not. Some other news as well, baby monitors getting hacked. That was in the news this week as well. Some other news as well that was talked about too, terrorists using encrypted message boards and encrypted chat rooms for planning attacks, something that we all need to be very cautious of. If you are using a chat room, which I know some people do use chat rooms and stuff like that are in our audience, make sure that you go ahead and just be careful who you talk to on there. You definitely don't want to be talking to people like that, so just be careful, especially if using tiny chat or things of that nature. Apple stock hits 500 for the first time in 6 months. Apple really playing a little bit of catch up lately because they only release one iPhone a year almost, or they only release a couple things a year, so they're starting to possibly fall a little bit behind in their. And the other reason why their stock's been going down too is they have not been the main focus of any news attention lately, which is a serious problem when you're one of the most valuable companies in the world. So definitely they need to go ahead and definitely need a big unveil in this coming month. Some other things as well. Windows 8.1 update revealed. Windows 8.1 is going to be unveiled and going to be released. It's not already been unveiled, but it's going to be released October 17th. It's already out now for developers. It'll be developers can already start messing with it. The betas are out, but the actual release won't be till October 17th, which October is always a very popular month for Microsoft stuff. Apple as well, acquiring video discovery service, Matcha.tv, that was on Mashable the other day, talking about how they acquired them. Obviously, Apple looking, I'm sure, to get a little bit more into the television market and looking to go ahead and get improve their Apple TV product and definitely expand their market. We just saw what they did recently with iTunes, with going ahead and putting radio, so I'm sure they're going to go ahead now and try to expand their TV market. And I wouldn't be surprised with Apple being as much as they are into media that they wouldn't be trying to start expanding on that platform a little bit. Some other things as well. VMware CEO stating the other day publicly that OpenStack is not for enterprises. It's meant for more the small type of business. OpenStack obviously is one of their smaller products that they have out for people. It actually is pretty decent from what I've read about it. But the CEO says that he doesn't expect open source cloud project OpenStack to catch significantly in enterprise markets. Instead, he said it's more of a platform for service providers to build public clouds. It's a notion that others in the market have expressed in the past, but also that OpenStack, they have, it's really hard. It's really something hard to really tackle. VMware, I've worked with it extensively, and it definitely is a product that is definitely hard to tackle. It is really complicated. OpenStack isn't any easier either, but OpenStack is it's a good little product, but definitely, like I said, something that is it's tough to work with. I've worked with it a little bit in the past, and it is quite a handful to go ahead and work with. VMware has always been. I think Hyper-V actually is a little bit easier. VMware, I think it's always been. I've always struggled with it a little bit as far as complexity. If anybody has any feelings on that, talking about Hyper-V or OpenStack or VMware, if any of you have a feeling on that, what's one more difficult than the other, why one's better than the other, go ahead and send me that information. We'll get it up on the podcast. Showing how the economy is struggling. Cisco slashing 4,000 jobs. That's really a shame, too. Cisco's such a huge company, very tied in with Linux, by the way, for those of you that don't know that. The shame they're slashing 4,000 jobs is really sad that a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, especially a huge company like Cisco that really, really strives very hard at being very, very good. Unfortunately, with just this market, the economy the way it is, and Cisco always being a little bit on the pricier side, unfortunately, I think this is part of the reason why this is happening. They haven't released exactly why they're doing it yet, but they are saying they are slashing 4,000 jobs, so we do wish those people and their family the best. Amazon reports 7 million net loss in quarter 2, and the stock falls below 300. Nothing new with Amazon. They've always their stock has always been kind of, people have always said, why is their stock always so much money? And the truth is, I don't really know why, but Amazon stock has always been on the pricey side, and a lot of people always wonder why when they do run on razor thin margins. They are getting now a little bit more into the grocery store market, stuff like that, and the reason for that is we talked about it a little bit on the blog, but the reason why they want to do that is because they want to try to do same day delivery or next day delivery for anything you buy. So there's a reason why they're getting into that. They're not getting into it because they want to deliver groceries. They're getting into it because they're trying to test their marketplace and see if they can do next day delivery. So a lot going on with them, and we need to see what happens. See if they can do next day delivery. That'd be kind of cool. Samsung Smart Watch coming September 4th. No, not a lot of information on it, but they are coming out with like I said, with a smartwatch September 4th. That's what the rumor is anyway. So September should be a very good month for information being released. Zynga CEO shakes up the management. He's getting rid of a lot of people up in management. Not a lot of people, but again, showing more job cuts. But Zynga is a company that definitely how the mighty have fallen over the last couple of years. They were, definitely they're not the number one anymore. Candy Crush is definitely taking the number one spot. But a couple of years ago, when they became not exclusive with Facebook, let their exclusivity deal run out with Facebook. I even said too, this is definitely not going to end well for them. But they thought it was, and it shows that I was right with that. I knew it wasn't going to be that great for them, but they're laying off quite a bit of people up in management, shaking up the way things are being run, doing kind of a similar structure that Microsoft is doing, how Microsoft really shook up their management. They're doing the same thing. So they are laying off some people, but they are as well also shaking up some positions. So some new stuff coming out. Some new structural changes coming up. And like I said, Zynga is a company that really needs to get really needs something major, because they were a very strong company up to maybe 2 years ago, and then not so much anymore. So I really saw this coming from them, but we'll see if these new management shakeups can possibly help them out, because they do need it. Some other things as well. Microsoft closes Xbox.com PC marketplace. That was in the news as well. So, like I said, a lot of stuff going on in Microsoft as well with the shakeups and all that of the management and all that. So we'll remain to see what happens with that. Getting into our last and final segment here on the podcast, obviously our question segment that we do every single week. Send any questions, obviously, via Twitter to @LaPannyTech. Couple questions. We don't have many questions. I'm finding that a lot of people really enjoy the podcast, but they don't seem to see. I'm not getting as many questions as I used to get. Which if you have a question, send it in. If you don't, even a comment. If you have comments or anything like that you want to send in, doesn't have to be just tech questions. If you have any comments or anything you want to add to the show or anything like that, just send it in. We'll be happy to take it, again, @LaPannyTech, or submit it on the website. Some of the first question we had, what is the best alternative to the Adobe Creative Cloud? GIMP is the one I like. There are a lot of others, but I would say GIMP is definitely one of the more popular ones. I like to use GIMP. It's free. It does work really, really well. It's the best free alternative. Companies like Slashdot use it exclusively. I think that's your best bet. Some other things as well. Another question I have: what should I use, a Unix or Linux for my website and email server? That really comes down to a personal preference. I like Linux myself. That's just my personal preference. If you're more comfortable with Unix, use Unix. Either one will do the same job. I tend to think there's going to be more support for Linux than there will for Unix. But again, that's just me. If it was me, I would use Linux. Unix is okay, but I tend to think, depending on the type of hardware you're going to run, there's going to be more support for Linux than there is for Unix. There always has been, and that's what I would do if I were you. Linux-based server, you can throw up a Linux server, CentOS, Ubuntu, whatever you want to use, depending on what you're more comfortable, whether you're more comfortable with an RPM or a Debian type of OS. You just throw it up and, throw up an Apache server and a mail server, and you should be no problem. So I would say go with Linux if I were you. It's going to be, it's much more easier, especially with Linux being streamlined nowadays as it is. It'll be much easier for you. Some other question is, how can I listen to my iPod in the car with no auxiliary jack? They do sell FM transmitters. I have one in my car because my one car doesn't have an auxiliary, so I have to go ahead and use an FM transmitter. So go ahead and use them. You can pick them up on Amazon for cheap. That's really the only way to do it. And then another question I had too: what was ransom? What is ransomware? What ransomware is it puts a virus on your machine. This is the only way you'll get rid of it is if you pay something to get rid of it. That's ransomware. Don't pay it. I strongly recommend running Spybot, Rootkit Buster, Malwarebytes, stuff like that to get rid of it. Don't pay for it. If you have to reformat the computer, but don't pay the money to get rid of the ransomware because that credit card will then be compromised. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the Technology Geek podcast. Again, you can find all of our blog posts and our forums and our chat room on the technologygeek.org. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at LaPannyTech. Follow us on our Facebook, on our Google+, and our YouTube channel. We want to thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.